What is up, guys? Ivan here with getivan.com, and in this video we're going to be answering the question how to do plumbing and HVAC SEO. So this is a big question, and I'm going to be doing niche-based questions like this more and more as I go about answering frequently asked SEO questions. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the actual query for plumbing and HVAC SEO. And we're going to look at that here in Google and in YouTube. And we're also going to look at some plumbing and HVAC companies. So we're going to look at the people who are positioning themselves as experts in this niche. And then we're going to actually look at sites in the niche, pardon me, and we're going to compare some of the things that they're doing and basically just make a list of some of the features and elements of pages that would be beneficial for plumbing and HVAC assets. So let's get into it. Drop this down here. So when we're looking at plumbing and HVAC SEO, first people who rank plumberseo.net. Let's take a look at these guys. Then we've got plumbing and HVAC SEO Facebook page. That's interesting. Let's click on that. See if it's the same people. Over here on the GMB, we've got a local result, so that's not super interesting. And then some other social pages. I think that's the same company there, and YouTube, Instagram. Plumbingwebmasters.com. Let's take a look at those guys. And some job pages. Let's go to the next page. Some other social pages. Redblink.com. Plumbing and HVAC SEO for HVAC contractors and companies. Let's take a look at that one. That one's a viable result. Some other social things. Let's see here. Siege Digital Marketing SEO for HVAC companies. The complete guide. There we go. So we'll stop it right there. Or let's see here. Yeah, we'll stop it right there. So let's take a look. First result, plumbing and HVAC SEO. They are doing full stack marketing, it looks like, for plumbing and HVAC companies. So it's pretty typical for some agencies to niche down, and these guys are clearly, I think, the leaders in that for this particular niche. It's kind of surprising though, like there's really not, we only found a few people who are really trying to niche down. And that's kind of alarming because plumbing and HVAC is a pretty big niche, right? So you can see here, plumbing and HVAC SEO digital dominance method. It's not particularly keyword oriented. Repeat and referral, PPC, pay per lead, retargeting, social media, directories, email marketing. See what happens when I click SEO. Takes us to an SEO page. Got a real busy website here. SEO services for plumbing, HVAC, and electrical companies. Nice. How local SEO helps businesses, sales, trust, yada, yada, yada. What to expect. Okay, here we go. Search engine optimization, successful, helping for 15 years. No, so they don't really tell anything useful. Let's see. Client retention rate, leads converted, an ebook. Okay. Unique strategy. Content creation. Okay. Building local links, maintaining local citations. So that would be like directory listings. Conversion rate optimization. So they're talking about content, local citations, local links, and local directory citations. Audit and research. Let's see here. Champion comfort experts. Let's look at their case study. Conversion rate 80%. Okay. Let's see. Other clients, I got Valley Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, Lawrence Snow of Valley Plumbing, Hull Plumbing Repair Specialist. So let's look those people up and let's see what we can. This is SEO and pay-per-click, SEO for 2 years. Okay. Google Partner, call tracking. Okay. So let's take a look at this case study for champion comfort experts. Let's see if we can spot their taxonomy here and for their page structures, content development, KPI tracking, website design, local search, comprehensive approach. Pretty good number of reviews there. Heating, air, electrical, plumbing, mobile responsive site, KPIs. Leads, looks like they have form fills and coupons. Leads converted, vision, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Here we go. Related case studies. Paul the plumber. Let's try this. Oh, it all goes to the same link. So probably just gonna have to search some of these. So let's do another tab. And let's look up this brand because I want to look up their site, Champion. So Champion Comfort Experts. Kind of a strange logo. So let's try this. Champion Comfort Experts. Look at their metadata. ChampionComfortExperts.com offers the best heating, cooling, plumber, and electrical services in North Carolina. It's strange to me. As you see this, I see this from time to time. Like, why are people so rebellious about putting the keyword in the homepage meta title? There's no excuse. It needs to read, pardon me, Champion Comfort Experts Plumbing Services or something. Put the keyword in the title. So, pardon me, one problem I already spotted there. Enormous number of Google Maps reviews. They're clearly doing a great job there. Not many some pictures. They got products there listed, so that's good. See questions. Yeah, I mean, can't really say anything about that. That's tremendous. Nice website. Definitely a fan. I'm a fan of the narrow view, on the site and responsive capability. Got a big phone number up there, clickable. Online store. Let's click on that, see how that is. Schedule. Let's look at heating. See, let's look at the heating page, heating repair, heating installation, furnace repair, furnace installation, heat pumps, cooling, AC repair, AC installation, mini splits. Let's try AC repair. Let's do cooling, AC repair, AC installation. Pardon me. Excuse me. And then they've got some other products and things. Plumbing. Let's check out the plumbing page. Drain cleaning, water heaters, tankless water heaters, sump pumps, etc. So view all plumbing services, water lines, bathroom remodeling. So it's interesting. They have it sort of like sub nestled here. I see that. That's just a way for them to truncate the size of the menu. So that's good design. Okay. Electrical, let's look at that. GFCI outlets. I don't think the average customer is going to know what GFCI is, but ceiling fans and chandeliers, patio lighting, generator services. Let's try this one. This one about. Definitely have sophisticated taxonomy here. Let's look at their locations page. That's usually in the footer. It's interesting they put that in the header. Call to action is to request service. What does this do? Does a pop out. It's a nice site design, actually. Special COVID message. See here, let's look at the first H tag. Was this the first H tag? Let's look at the source. Yeah, that's the H one right there. Okay, so they have like a banner here, and then the first H tag is here: heating, cooling, electrical, and plumbing services in Flat Rock, North Carolina. So 1, 2, 3, 4 service keywords, which is pretty extensive actually. Most of the time you only see 1 or 2. So to see 4, that's pretty interesting that they're doing it that way and they're able to get away with that. Let's see here. So they have some really kind of PPC language here. Call the experts at such and such phone number. It's not, that one's not clickable there. For service in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Interesting that they optimized a city on the homepage actually. So what do they have here? The company in Hendersonville, North Carolina, or schedule online from drain repair to electrical repair. So the first internal links that they're promoting are drain repair and electrical repair. That's pretty interesting. They've also got anchor text with internal linking going to AC repair service in Flat Rock, North Carolina. So curious internal linking strategy here. They've got Hendersonville at the first mention, but then they have anchored services pages going to Flat Rock, pardon me, which kind of indicates that that's really what they're trying to juice and they're trying to boost it. Probably later on they did that to augment those locations in terms of ranking capability, but unless they could have done it from the outset, but just looking at the search volume, but who knows? Anyways, that's what they're doing though. And it's usually not recommended that you do that specific an anchor text. Well, certainly off page. It seems okay. I'm sure it's not really a big deal internally, but anyways. So let's see what else we have. Heating and air in Flat Rock, North Carolina. So AC repair, heating and air, water heater repair in general, plumbing services in Flat Rock. And then you have generic links, buttons, heating, air, electrical, plumbing. Those are generics. Excuse me. Some benefits, no keyword, no SEO benefit there. Embedded video, nice. There's a lot of space there. I guess they wanted to show their trucks. Heating and cooling services in Flat Rock. Plumbing services in Flat Rock. Electrician services in Flat Rock. So it's weird. They mention Hendersonville, but then all of the optimization for this homepage is in Flat Rock. And they have, I'm guessing those are H2s. Probably. Let's take a look at the source. Your MVP is an H2 for heating. That's an H. So that was the first thing that occurred. They marked those as H2s. That's curious. Benefits, pardon me, as an H2. That's a mistake. They should tag that as like H6 or something. Pardon me. And then they've got heating and cooling services in Flat Rock as the H2. Yeah. And plumbing services in Flat Rock. Yeah. So then those are the H2s. Those are those are really the H2s, or maybe the could be the H3s. They're going to tag this up here as an H2. It's a little bit backwards. I'm not sure they should be doing it like that, but anyways, it's whatever. Satisfaction, contact, serving the surrounding area is nice. So they have it buttoned. Oh, it's imaged image oriented. No, it's text oriented. Okay, so they got the text, and then they have, let's see, locations. Looks like inconsistency in articulations. Oftentimes, take a look down here. Oftentimes, they'll have, there's a lot of ways to do this, but they'll have a folder of, like, say, either state and then city, or city and then usually it'd be like state. So in this case, North Carolina, and then the city, and then you'd have just like a generic like service name in the city folder. That'd be a pretty good way to do it. What you can also do is no folders, just in the root, and just throw in, and this way you can have it as a single term string. So you can see in this case, heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, Flat Rock, NC. And then down here, it's Fletcher Heating Air Conditioning Contractor. And then Greenville, and then Biltmore Forest Heating Air Conditioning Contractor. So they have, and it could be intentional because they want to do like the city before the term, and then they want to have contractor kitted into there. But I would guess it's probably just that there is inconsistency in the way it was executed. They probably did plumbing first or something like that, and then later on added other other pages for those locations. So they have inconsistent taxonomy, which is not a big deal, but it's definitely recommended that you have a consistent type of location-oriented taxonomy. So in this case, they're doing like either keyword plus location, or they're doing location, or I should just put that slash, or location plus keyword, right? That's essentially what they're doing, and they're doing it all on the root. I should actually put a little command like this, or they're doing root, location, keyword plus location, or location plus keyword. The better way to do it is root, state, city, keyword. And the reason is because when you actually are having to, it depends on your site structure and what you're using to manage content, but I prefer to use HTML. And so certainly with HTML, you don't want all your content sitting on the root, because it makes it an absolute mess to organize all that stuff. And as long as they're in the URL, it's fine. Like it's going to be procced as a single, change strain of terms in the meta title and in your H1 anyways. So this is the structure that I recommend in order to keep your content really organized in your site structure. And it also makes it easy to create those pages, because then you just use the city names and you can just drop them into the folders. Like it's a pretty good deal easier to do it that way. And well, if you're doing a bunch of different services, then you can just drop it in there like this. But another way to do it would be, depending on the site structure, you could go root and you could go service, right? So service, so you could technically go service type, right? So this would be keyword, and then you could go city state. So this one might look like plumbing, and then there would be, what are these cities? Arden NC. You see, that's another way to do it. Yet another way to do it would be to go root, state, and then to do some other. There's a variety of combinations. Like it depends on how you need to structure it, like, because if you had a lot of different service types, it would probably be easier to structure it this way. Because if you just have a few service types, you don't really need to do it like this, because then you're going to have to create a lot of, if you have a small number of cities like in a locality, then you could create those and then add those keywords. If you had like a few cities, then it probably makes sense to do it in this taxonomy, right? But it's probably easier to do it like this if you have like a smaller number of keywords, like heating, cooling. I mean, I've done it. I can't even. I have to look at an asset to see how I've done it. I've done it in different combinations, like in all of these combinations, right? But with usually what you have is a lot of cities. Certainly, when you're doing a large scale asset, with 1,000 plus cities, then you probably want to do it at the keyword level, right? So if you have a few services, then you probably want to do a keyword folder, and then you want to go the city state inside of that folder, right? Now it depends though, because you the problem is with doing state folders is it just like adds another dimension to the work. That's why I like this variation better, because then you can just articulate the state as like fully spelled out or even as an abbreviation. And then that way it makes it kind of easier. But because if you have to do a state folder, then you have to do a bunch of different states, and it's harder to keep track of. So this is kind of more simplified. But I guess you could, like I was talking about, you could do it all as, keyword city state. That would be the typical combo that lets you hit everything like this, keyword city state. But you don't really want that in your root folder, and because it's a mess. So you could even do it like this: services, keyword city state, or locations. And that way it would keep it cleaner and more organized, right? Let me check one of my assets real quick, and I can type out how I did that one. So this is really interesting. Apparently, this is what I did on one of my more organized HTML taxonomies. I did the full state name, and then I did the keyword, and then I did uh, just this folder in that folder that just says city, and then in there I have pages for city state, which probably sounds, I mean, it kind of seems messy at first, but what's interesting is like the city, this is a state abbreviation. So this is the full state name, this is the abbreviation. And so what's sneaky about that is it allows that asset to get the full state name and then the keyword. And then over here, there is this just word city in between, right? But I think the reason I did that was to keep it clean, because in this state keyword folder, well, I guess I technically wouldn't need, I don't know, I'd have to think about that to just see if I could figure out why I needed this extra folder. But in any case, you have full state name plus the keyword plus the city and the state abbreviation. So you have the full state name, the state abbreviation, the keyword, and then the city. So you have the keyword, city, and the state abbreviation, and then you have the full state name. Like, pretty awesome way of doing it, actually. Let me check something. So I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking when I put city here, but what you could do is you could say state keyword, and then you could put other pages that are other long tails of this keyword in these folders. So that's kind of sneaky, and not, I'd have to look closer at some of the content I got on there to see what I was thinking, but there might be benefit to having the word city in there, but I don't think so. It might have just been a way for me to keep that one organized. So technically, you could drop this folder, right? And then you could just go state keyword. So this is the full state name. So it'd be like Texas plumber Fort Worth TX, and that way you get the full name and you get the suffix, and it's all like, so that's a pretty good way of arranging it. I'd have to think about it. I mean, I've done this a number of times over the years, different assets and client consultancies, and there's a lot of ways to configure it. This one here is probably the better one. Let's see, how did they just kind of did it on the root, which I don't recommend, but it's interesting that that's kind of, they're basically doing keyword city state, right? So keyword city, yeah. So I would probably do something similar, but then just structure it in this manner, you know. Anyway, so that matters quite a bit because it determines how you the layout for a local lead gen asset, and there's a number of ways to configure it, but this is a key element of on page for local assets. And certainly the contract is very common with contractor websites to have these kinds of structures. So if you're looking to do plumber and HVAC SEO, you definitely want to create some quantity of location-based pages. Now, that being said, there are also a number of ways to configure it. You can do specific location pages. Did I open some of those? Like here's Flat Rock. Now, they were talking about Flat Rock all the time up in here on this home page. AC repair. Interesting. So they have it on the home page, but then what is this? That's a different page. Not sure if that's a mistake. That's a different page. It'd be interesting to see which one ranks better, the home page or this page. So they got a coupon. They got a little order form. Pardon me. Let's see. Heating, air conditioning, plumbing. There's no internal linking there. There's internal linking here to heating and air conditioning generics, heating repairs, heating installation, furnace repairs. Interesting, they have the keyword here: heating, repairs, heating, installation, furnace, heating, furnace repairs. So in this case, they have keyword and then sub keyword. So that's good. Drain cleaning, pipe repair. Those are plumbing keywords. Plumbing professionals. So they have internal linking going from the location oriented pages back to sort of larger pages. They're missing some internal linking here too, interestingly enough. Here's drain cleaning. Let's see if there are locations on this page. That's curious. So usually when you internally link back to a topical page, the topical page is going to have locations that it's pointing back to, and that's what creates a silo effect. And there's kind of a contention amongst SEOs as to wanting the silo to just go round and round and round and round. Like some people kind of want to keep the juice flowing, and then some people argue that the juice needs to stop on authoritative topical pages, kind of like this here. I don't know if those are the ones that rank though. Like the on page, you wouldn't really want these to rank for local SEO because they don't have the on page required to rank for locations. Like drain cleaning might do something for you to rank nationally, but obviously it's a local service. So I would consider this because, so I've described two internal linking ideologies, and the third would be that you want your internal links to land onto the location pages, right? And so on the location pages, you really don't want them to you don't want them to link back into um, your parent pages. I would make the argument. You can have the text on page, but you wouldn't really want to internally link like that, because to those topical pages, because what's the purpose? Your juice needs to land on those localities. And so I would consider that a mistake. Like ultimately you want those locations to be the ones that where all the flowing juice from pardon me, from all those places. You want it to be landing here because these pages are designed with better on page for those locations. And so that's that would be what I would recommend. I also think that it might be a conflict. Like you have heating, air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, and flat rock in C. Let's check the character count on this page. 65. So that's under 70, but it's recommended to do under 50, so that, pardon me, it doesn't get truncated on mobile phone. And so that's a conversion optimization problem, but it might, cut out the location on mobile phone results. It's going to vary. Google decides, but anyways, let's take a look. There's a bunch of other service pages, so let's look at some of these before I make a decision. So here's some products. I have some products ranking also. I'm assuming, so that's cool. Discount heating and cooling services in Flat Rock, North Carolina. So that's just / heating. So they've got the heating parent page, and then they have, let's see, heating and then heating repairs. That's interesting. So their parent heating page goes to a particular location. So they're really trying to hit Flat Rock, North Carolina with that parent heating page, heating and cooling services. And then they have sub pages where the locations actually go point to those sub pages. And so there's a little bit of juicing to the parent page there in the folder taxonomy. But I'd still have to ask, like, why? Let's see, where does this page go? Heating, maintenance, and that's on a link. Furnace installation. Okay, heating, furnace repair. Plumbing, electrical, air conditioning, installation, furnace replacement. Okay. See, the internal linking on this page is quite different. It's interesting, the thinking there. Here's 3 internal links, generic places. Let's move on here. Heater repairs, heater installation, air conditioning repairs, air conditioning services in Flat Rock. Okay. So those are probably the header taxonomies. Air conditioning installation, plumbing services in Flat Rock. No links. All of the rest of these pages are the same. So this is very strange. Like, we're learning some things about how they're structuring, and I'm sure they're ranking and doing well. They have 2,000 something reviews there, so they're probably doing just fine. But it's curious because I would actually consider their on page to be less than optimal. They have a lot of service pages that are going to these generic locations, and the internal linking is not consistent to the right places. Their silo is very poorly configured. The optimal configuration would be, okay, you have location pages, right? And then you also have service area here. And I'd be interested to see if that's consistent. It looks like it hasn't been updated in a long time because there might be more places here than there are here, and maybe more links over there too. Um, the way it's supposed to be set up, guys, is you're supposed to go, okay, you have your home page, your route, right? And then on your route, you're listing out locations on that page. And you can also have in your footer a locations page if you need to, but you don't necessarily need to, because you're going to have a sitemap link in your footer, and the sitemap is going to have all those location pages anyway. So you don't need a location page. It looks cool, but it's pointless, really, when you're already giving Google a sitemap. You're just doing extra work to have a locations page. It's another place to edit and update, so it's pointless. It's a good idea to have the locations listed, at least to some degree, on your homepage, though, because your homepage gets a lot of juice. Every link that's juiced on your website also juices the root of your site, which is your home page, because of the way that folders work on your domain. Um, pardon me. So you want to have some locations listed there. Now, this can be tricky. For local SEO, it's really not that big of a deal, because you're oftentimes not going to list out more than 30 to 50 or something, and locations, and that's really not a big deal. Now, if you're national and you have a very large number of locations, then you have to break it down by state, most likely, or you have to maybe indicate the top cities and then just allow the rest to. You could maybe list the rest on some sort of silo location page and then go click here to view more. But there's not much of a point to doing that, because it's kind of unkempt anyways. So, but that would be the only case where I might add a locations page. But and this is really a deep topic you can sit around and go back and forth on for a while. But the question of, do you want to do a really big asset with 10,000 some odd cities? Do you want to do, you have a crawl budget. Every site starts out with something like 10,000 page crawl budget. I don't even know the period of time it is, but it's lower, right? So you can't do an enormous number, because you'll hit your crawl budget really quickly. You could do 5,000, you could do 1,000. It's maybe you could do, say, the top 50 cities at a national scale, and then list cities by proximity on those location pages. You could do by state, and then list out the top 50 cities on the state pages. So there's so many different configurations for how you can express your locations. In this case, let's just say it's 50 direct pages, right? So you'd have your route, and then you have your locations pages on that home page, right? And you'd use some sort of taxonomy like we were discussing earlier to go to those pages. And what you'd want to do is, on those locations pages, which would be something like this, right? You'd want to then have links. Well, the links basically need to end on these pages. So let me put it like this: you have your route, and your route has internal links to, let's say, this bracket here stands for internal links. So you'd have your route to your locations pages, which would be this taxonomy here, right? And then you'd have on those pages, the juice essentially ends, and you don't really want it to go anywhere else, because you want all of the link building and the internal link juice to end on those pages, given the fact that they are optimized. Like, the whole point of doing locations, guys, is because when you have the keyword optimized with the location, it's further optimized to people who are searching from the location and to people who are searching, for services in conjunction with that location as a keyword. So you do get a significant on-page boost, which makes things easier. Now, you could just totally say, forget that. I'm just going to have all these locations. You could do it like this: root, keyword, and then you could literally put the locations. Let's say colon represents content. You could do content plus locations on the page. So then, if instead of making it a huge hot mess, you could just go. You could just have a page as a keyword, right? So like such and such plumber, and then you could just list the locations you service on that page if you just wanted to make 4 pages, right, for services you did. So in this case, what you would do is you would go root keyword, and you would go metro. And the metro stands for like metropolitan area, right? So I live in Dallas Fort Worth, so I would say keyword Dallas Fort Worth. And then I would list the locations on the page. And this is a very optimized way of doing it because it allows you to, it's not going to be as optimized as ranking for a specific city, but it allows you to still touch a lot of locations and optimize for the general area without having to create so many pieces of content real estate. And so this is another actually really unique way to configure it. And technically it should be up here. I forgot about that. And I actually recently redesigned my own site to target things like this. So this is metro targeting. And then some of the keywords are for, Dallas, Fort Worth metropolitan area here. And then you can see down here I have some cities. And I think I'm going to put these into like an accordion at some point. So that would actually be a pretty good example of that. But anyways, back to this example. So what I'm trying to get at here is, like, for these taxonomies, you don't want to go to these just like vanilla pages necessarily. Like, they have a lot of real estate on this website that goes to places that, like, there's no point to ranking. They have extra pages. So technically this would be what they would call keyword cannibalization. And so if they optimize this stuff to really focus on funneling all of the link juice to the right locations, it would be much more efficient. Pardon me. So because technically when I click on heating repairs, as a category, it should take me to heating repairs in such and such county, North Carolina, right? And then in that county, it should list all of the locations, and then it have all the locations for all of the service pages are internally linked for those locations. You see, so in the header taxonomy, all of these service pages should technically reflect a lot, either like they have to act as mini silos to then funnel the juice to those places. Now, the way they have it set up, pardon me, is if I click a location like Flat Rock here, and I look down at some of these places like heating repairs, they have the locations pumping up these silo pages. But the problem is these categorical pages are not silos. They have no internal linkings. Like, they are the header taxonomy categorical pages, and they're generic in nature. So it's almost like the locations they are trying to push the ranking of the generic product pages or service pages, right? Pardon me. Of course, the problem is the service pages don't have any on-page optimization. Pardon me. So what's the point of that? It's improperly designed. It needs to be configured in a way where, like I said, it's configured for the county or the state, and then it points down to the locations, and those locations are ultimately what they want to push up. Now, there's one other problem, and it's that the it's cool. It's interesting that they're able to put 4 keywords in their H1 over there on their homepage. I think that's pretty bold, and I wouldn't recommend doing that. I like to do 1 or 2 like for like. So, for example, heating, repair, and installation, right? So, heating, repair, and installation. Air, because air conditioning repair, and you get the idea. Air conditioning. So this would be the H1, and then this would be the H2. Pardon me. And what would be better is if they structured the content like that, so that down their page they have they prioritize whatever their H1 would be. So their H1 would be what is on the meta title. The meta title would be heating and cooling services in such and such county, North Carolina, right? Or Flat Rock, North Carolina, right? That should be their H1. So, something like that it's enormous, but it's not the worst, right? But then for their other content, they need to have like heating, repair, and installation. They need to go down and have a little paragraph chunk there and internally link to some of those pages, right? And or heating services, H2, air conditioning services, H3. And so that they have an opportunity to do much better internal linking. And so we're seeing, a good example of what a local lead gen asset looks like here. And you guys, I think, can see the way it's supposed to be configured, and the header taxonomy, the page structures, the internal linking involved. But actually, it's not finished. They have not finished the process for this project, which is not a big deal. They're clearly a nice website, and they're still having success. I'm just showing you guys how this could be improved and what it really looks like. It's supposed to look like in a state of perfection. Would be even more granular than it already is. So they need to correct some of those, the way that they're handling locations. They need to correct their internal linking so that all of those parent pages are ending at those locations, because that's what they really want to rank. Pardon me. And then they need to correct their homepage H tag structure also if they want a better on page. And obviously, if they're gonna allow these pages to be little silos, these category pages to be silos, they need to have these targeting the county, and then they need to have those pointing to the cities, right? Because that's what they want to rank. They want the cities to rank, and in some cases, those pages might rank depending on how authoritative they might be. But yeah, that company, what is that company? PlumberSEO.net. They definitely know what they're doing in terms of this particular case study. I don't want to take up too much time to look at other case studies, but just clicking through, we can kind of see. I didn't get a chance to look at these guys, but kind of a similar thing. Inevitably, let's see. Red Blink, plumbing and HVAC SEO for HVAC. That's a blog post. Let's look at the services. So, a very particular service page, blog style format, description. And then these people, SEO for HVAC companies, the complete guide. It's a pretty nice page. Very detailed. Well, not doesn't look like nearly as detailed as what I've been describing to you guys here. But let's see. Plumbing and HVAC companies. Let's click on some other examples here so that you guys can see this page structure is likely to be observed on these other competitors. So let's close this. Billy Go, returning customers, financing, schedule appointments. Look at the taxonomy. Plumbing, water leak detection and repair service. Interesting. They're really putting the keywords in there. Slab leak detection and repair. Water heater repair, replacement, and installation. So they're doubling up on the repair, replacement, and installation terms. So they're not creating separate service pages. They're putting all of those into optimizing all of those things into one page, which is wise. I would recommend doing that. If you're going to make a page on water heaters, you don't want to make a page for water heater repair and a page for water heater replacement and a page for water heater installation. It's just too tedious. Like you want as little real estate as possible, and that takes some figuring out to do. And the reason is because you want your link juice to travel the shortest path, because otherwise pages take longer and longer to rank. And that's a deep topic and not something to talk about another time. So this is wise to do, but on these pages, what I would expect to see is internal links going to locations if they really want to have the best on-page opportunity for those locations to rank. What are these pins? Oh, very curious. So in this case, they dropped pins into a custom Google map, and then, pardon me, they dropped it just generally on a city, and they put an authority link to the government webpage for that city, and then they put in the description a backlink to their service area page. So a very sneaky trick there. Not sure how well that works, but sneaky trick. Embedded video. No service pages. Interesting. Service areas. Let's look at this. Hearst Plumbing, Hearst Furnace Repair, Hearst Furnace Repair Installation. Let's look at this. Hearst Plumbing. Nice. So here's a service page, but then they don't have, let's see, emergency plumbing. Dallas. Some of these are hyperlinked and some of these are not. Some of these are location specific and some of these are not. They got that custom map embedded on all these pages. So again, it would be better. They've got a service area page here, but the weakness is this page, for example, for drain cleaning services and clogged drains and pipes. Like it doesn't have. Now, it could just be that that's maybe a smaller service and they didn't feel like they needed locations. Let's see, what does this page have? Here you go. So this parent page for plumbing had locations on it. So that's how it's supposed to be done. You have to send your internal link juice to those location pages so that they have the best opportunity to rank. So that's better. I don't think this website is not as nice as the one of the other ones we were looking at. The other one was definitely more of a lead gen asset in terms of its design. But this company has done a better job at its silo. So I've been referencing silos and internal linking. They're basically the same thing for those who don't know. Like, your internal linking determines where the juice flows and where the juice ends up, as it whenever you link pages, and the authority that is then subsequently given to the pages that your page is linked to. So ultimately, you want that to end on your locations. So interesting to look at Billy Go. Let's look at another example. Plumbing and heating, Hawk P hack. Okay. HVAC services, plumbing services. Don't squawk, call Hawk. That's cute. So plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. So they got 3 there. Nice. I don't like how long it takes a page to load. Plumbing and HVAC services. They've got service listings here. Plumbing services. So let's look at some of this stuff. Let's look at commercial plumbing. And let's see. I like how big everything is, but it takes too long to load. Scorpion. Interesting. Very interesting that that company is made this website. The website's not bad. It just, I have heard bad things about their marketing services, ironically. So I don't know if I'd pay them for SEO, but they are ranking for DFW, so something right is going on. Pardon me. Okay, so this page, commercial plumbers in Fort Worth. Let's see, commercial plumbing, drain cleaning, emergency plumbing. They got Fort Worth tags here. Hawk commercial plumbing. Wow, no locations. It might just be totally Fort Worth. So that could be what it is. That they don't have a service area, which really simplifies the whole thing. And something else you might remember, guys, is you can put the zip codes on the page also. So that might be something you want to do. And you can also put neighborhoods now, because Google divides by neighborhoods. So if you were just going to do a really tiny service area, you might as well put the zip codes. You might as well put the neighborhoods. There's no reason not to. Yeah. Sorry about that. Crawford Services. Let's look at theirs. Plumbing services, HVAC service. Let's look at their homepage first. Request service. Yada da 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 da. Very simple website. I like how simple it is. Let's look at their heating page. They prioritized air conditioning before heating. That's probably wise. I mean, it is Texas after all. Let's see, heating services. North Texas. See, they optimized for North Texas heating services. Furnace repair, furnace maintenance, furnace replacement. Interesting. So they just did a very broad optimization, just general area. They didn't even do locations. And where were they ranking? They were ranking like number 3, right? So look at this, Fort Worth heating contract, Dallas Fort Worth heating contractor, Crawford Services. So even though technically speaking, the local lead gen model where you're doing, service, city, state, right? The 3 S's. That is the most on-page optimized model. That is the most optimal lead gen model, but it creates a lot of real estate. So given the fact that these guys are ranking number 3, I mean, you could argue that it's maybe more cost efficient to just do something really simple with broad targeting. Like if you did Texas, if you did it at the state level, it might not be such a bad idea, depending on the kind of asset you're doing, right? Texas heating services, like I guess they have to cover the whole state to do that, though, of course. But pardon me. They do have NAP citations for Dallas Fort Worth, and they have a Grand Prairie address. So in order to really know what they're ranking for, we kind of have to check out the rankings. So you could argue, you could definitely argue an issue with optimization, because they have Dallas, they have Fort Worth, and they also proc for Grand Prairie. and then they definitely proc for the Metroplex, but then their on page just says North Texas, so they do have an on page optimization issue. It would probably be better if they listed the cities in North Texas on the page just to avoid any confusion. That way they're not just calling themselves just North Texas or Texas in general, and there's no on page concern there like for all of those service pages. But when you think about it like that, if they just listed those pages, those cities on those power pages, it would hit those on page criteria, and it would allow you to create as few pages as possible. So this is the kind of thing, if your head's spinning by now, like, I apologize, but this is the kind of thing you got to be looking at with any local lead gen asset, and certainly from the standpoint of plumbing and HVAC, you can kind of get the idea for the services in their taxonomy. And my recommendation is, if you have a very if you have now see, Google does expect there to be service oriented taxonomy. I've seen whole webinars on this topic with Google engineers talking about updates implemented because they want to see granular service descriptions. Like, the more granular you are, the more the algorithm supposedly appreciates that. But there's also no reason to think that you couldn't list locations, for example, and then just have all your services on those location pages. Like, if you only had 4 locations, pardon me, there's no reason to think that you couldn't just say broad. You couldn't just list H tags of all your services on those location pages, right? And then just have them like super high authority for those specific locations. Like, it's not typical to see it done that way, but it would be the most resource optimized way of doing it, you know? However, the most typical way of doing it, based on what everybody does, is to obviously do your service pages and then in there to internally link to the locations. And those locations are obviously optimized for keyword city state, the triple S structure. And this is a major brand. I've seen them and heard of them in this area. I would look for a major brand like Berkey's here or whatever is in your area, and see like this menu is fantastic. Like, it looks nice. They have it's way easier to see. They have great site design. Um, pardon me. And let's take a look and see if they have any location data. Let's see. Looking for the best. This is definitely a PPC structure. Best plumber, electrician, and air conditioning company and contractor in Dallas Fort Worth. Dang. So in this case, their homepage is optimized to the DFW Metroplex. So that's much better than the other guys who were looking at. What is this brand called? Champion Comfort Experts. Okay, that's what we were looking at. So it's much better idea to target a broad area on the homepage, right? And then you can internally link down plumbing, air conditioning, heating, like da, 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 da. That's an interesting way to internally link their Berkey's awards, some of the services, products, contractor services. So they got service areas here. Let's take a look at this. Oh, they're in Southlake. Wow. Southlake is like the fanciest city in America or something crazy like that. It's just a little fun fact there. Like, highest earnings in Southlake, and I think any city in America is a fancy city up here north of here. Anyways, service areas, they have them listed. No internal links though. Pardon me. Wow, that's pretty wild actually. Let's click on some of these pages. Let's look at the plumbing page. 24-hour. Pardon me, emergency plumbing company serving Dallas, Fort Worth, Plano, Arlington, and more. That's so bold. They're really stuffing their H tags. That's pretty interesting. Dallas Plumbers, Berkey's Plumbing on the metadata. Also in the search, they had the phone number first for the homepage, and they're putting the phone number in the title. That's pretty awesome. Um, excuse me. 24-hour plumber offering slab leak detection, water heater repairs, drain cleaning, sewer repairs, leak detection, general plumbing repairs. Let's see if there's any locations. Dallas Plumbing Service includes. Oh, here you go. Preventative plumbing maintenance and inspections. See our club program. Berkey's licensed Texas Plumbers offers plumbing, water, in these cities and in these zip codes. Yeah, so it's interesting that they do it like that. They don't have dedicated service pages, and it's conflicting to say which is better, because obviously if you make a dedicated service page targeting a specific area, it's going to be more optimized. But the problem is being able to juice all of those places is much more difficult at scale, you know? And so this kind of goes to what I was talking about before, where you want to optimize and simplify the targeting as much as you possibly can, because it really optimizes your your budget, excuse me, in terms of your link building, and it allows your pages to be specialized in such a way where you're still going to be able to rank for a general region, right? And if on average you're still in the top percentile, like you're it's going to be much more optimized at scale. You know, it's a lot. Pardon me. It's a lot easier to handle that for sure. So I kind of lean more toward what they are doing. You know, where you target a metro region essentially, and then list some of those cities and zips, and maybe even neighborhoods on the page, right? So that's cool. Let's look quickly at ours. Emergency plumbing, emergency HVAC. Let's see, heating and AC. It's a nice website. Oh, it's Rescue Router. They must have, I guess they bought a new domain name. It's a famous brand. Heating and AC repair, emergency plumbing, and more. They have internal links right there, and that's pretty awesome. Right there in the internal links. All services. It's just fancy menu. Air conditioning services. Let's click there. I want to look down here. Air conditioning. No locations. Let's look at the. Wow, there's no locations page. Let's click on the sitemap though. License, media kit, views, da 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 da. Pardon me. And air conditioning services. Let's see here. And then they list out the services on page. How do they list these out? Air conditioning repair, air conditioning installation. Nice. And one of the reasons also for doing it like that is on the root of that page, you can have a parent page. They can have that parent page that internally links to all the other pages. Of course, it doesn't quite work like that on just, you can't do that straight route to folder with HTML, because it has to go to that HTML page. So, oh, sorry about that. Um, excuse me. Let's look here, see if there's any location. Oh, excuse me. What is this tagged as? Air conditioning company. Oh man, They're just big, bold air conditioning service people. 130,000 reviews. Yeah, I would guess that they probably had a GMB that tied the location, and that's maybe why they're still able to rank some of those pages. Air conditioning. Let's try air conditioning repair. Let's see if maybe there's. Oh, here's locations. Maybe I'm just. Okay, so they do have some locations here. Let's look at Texas. Okay, so then they list the citation of that location on the page. So that's neat. Pardon me. What happens when I click on one of these? Rescue Router Dallas. That's probably a GMB. Emergency Plumbing Services. Okay, here we go. There's location page. AC Repair Services in Dallas. Okay, so here they have a folder for the city, and then they have the keyword in the folder. They don't have the state. And that looks like that's it. I'd be curious to see what is the juice on this page. Well, let's look at something more specific. Emergency Plumbing Dallas. Barely any content there, but I bet it's ranking. Emergency Plumbing Services in Irving, Texas. Interesting. So they call it Dallas, and then they optimize the page for Irving, even though the meta title says Dallas, the H1 says Irving, and the content says Dallas. That's kind of sneaky. Let's look at, I'm just curious to see what kind of juices. Yeah. I want this URL. Didn't get picked up. Let's look at the free backlink checker. Pardon me. 2 backlinks. Huh. I bet it's ranking though somewhere. I'd be curious to see. Let's try this. Emergency Plumbing Services Irving. Photo routers number 1 in the maps. And a different page is number 1 there. Okay, I want to grab this page then. What does this page look like? Could be an error. Oh, rotorouter.com. Okay, that's a different page. Maybe that's. Oh, Rescue Router. Okay, my bad. Just out of curiosity, I want to see another good page to look at, though. Big brand. Counties. I want to see what the rankings. Oh, excuse me, 32 keywords. This is picking up 30 referring domains. This one's picking up 21. Yeah, that's not even that. It was like 1.2K links, but most aren't even do follow. That's curious. So they're ranking number 1, and then that doesn't even have that many links. So, I mean, obviously their domain authority is huge, but you could compete with that. If you got like 150 referring domains, you could maybe outrank that. But anyways, interesting to see on Rescue Router how these pages are structured. That one wasn't even ranking though. But and of course, you could even scrape the sitemap for some of this stuff just to see how the URLs are structured. I won't look at other ones. There's a lot of them, but you get the idea. They're mostly structured in the same manner. And when we look at YouTube, it's that one brand we were looking at first. They're kind of dominating the rankings here on YouTube. That the guys who did this site for Champion Comfort Experts, they're doing a good job for instructionals. And there's another site out there. These people, the webmasters, who are kind of their competitors. But I would say Berkey's had some of the best. And just let's before I let you guys go, I know I kept you a really long time. I didn't know how this was going to go. I'm gonna have to get this a little more structured so I don't take so long. But let's just take a quick look at some of these ranking numbers. So Berkey's is at 13K. 13K keywords. Let's look at ours.com. 80K. Maybe not necessarily fair. Some of those have been around a long time. Actually, it's here. 5K referring domains. Let's go back. 3K. Then let's grab this one, Champion Comfort Experts. 1.8K. Well, they only have 200 referring domains. That's wild. Let's say 2K. With me. Probably should be making notes of what was this, Rescue Router and Roto Router. I need to try to look at Roto Router. I closed all those tabs. You don't necessarily want to look at the biggest of the big brands, 125K, because they're much older, much bigger. And you kind of want to look at, see, this one's 13K referring domains. This one was 5K. This one was like 200, and then this one was 3K. So that's a pretty big difference, and I guess you can see every couple of K or a few K, it makes a pretty big difference in the quantity of keywords ranking. The ratio, a lot of the times with those ratios, as they get bigger, it's curated links through RSS feeds and stuff like that. So I kind of like to look at that, but you also can't totally weigh that. So, I mean, I really kind of like the way that Berkey's was handling things. The other ones were handling things similarly, as some differences. There's a lot of other sites one could compare, and probably need to do a plumber SEO, an HVAC SEO website case study, just to sort of see what the site metrics look like at some sort of scale. That'd be a good thing to scrape to get an idea of competition. And that would be a good follow-up to this video. But it's hard to say, to give a definitive answer in terms of what's the decision in terms of how to do your plumbing and HVAC SEO. Well, I think it's obvious you have to pick some manner of strategy, right? Most are doing service taxonomy in these various categories, right? At the very least, you're looking at heating and air, and basic plumbing services, and probably want to prioritize in your menus the services that you really care the most about. And you probably want to do you got a couple options. You could do silo county oriented service pages that go to locations, and then just make a bunch of locations pages for each of those pages you're doing. And for content, you could just substitute, you could have core content that substitutes locations, or you could maybe use AI driven content to variate all those pages. That would give you an on page SEO boost, but it's like I said, it's going to cost, it might cost you more in terms of link building, you know? So I do like the notion, I like the idea of what Berkey's is doing is like larger area, whether it's state level or county level service pages. And then on those pages, you are putting those locations. They didn't do it here for some reason, but I I would lean more towards that. I've done it in a variety of ways. Like one of my better structured assets right now is set up in a way where we have generic content that's literally all common data, and then it's just variated with locations in different slots, location variated keywords, and then at the bottom there it's got the top 50 or so cities, and those actually are the ones that rank the best because the homepage is linking to them. And that's pretty much all it does, is it just goes straight to the cities. And that's something I didn't talk about either, is that you could just go this is another way to do it. You could just go root keyword. Well, you'd probably want to do a keyword folder and then city, city state suffix, right? And I guess I did that up here, like, but the idea here is that when you're doing your taxonomies, not your taxonomies, your internal linking, like you're really prioritizing. You're just going straight to the cities. You're not doing power pages necessarily. Like now, if it's a really big asset, you can't internally link from plumbing services page to 5,000 different cities, right? So there is it is reasonable to break it down, but at the same time, like that's kind of where I would go, okay, maybe we need to do kind of like what Berkey's is doing and break it down to larger location, and then those pages just have on page breakdowns. So that's probably what I would do. Keyword, and then metro. It's technically not city state. It's root keyword metro state, and that makes it so that you can have your root pages pardon me, powering the keyword categories, right? And then those act as silos, which then power the actual metro regions. Like you could do it that way. If, for example, you had heating, then on your heating page, you'd have subterms for heating repair, heating installation, etc. And then you'd have internal links going to what is this are essentially the same kinds of pages except to specific metro locations. So that's one way to do it. Kind of going in circles. Maybe a more optimal way, and I there's so many different ways to do things, but what I'm trying to do here is really break this down. Like, what's the simplest, straightest path, right? I think it's probably root to keyword, because you can't have all those metro states for all those keywords. You have to have a silo page. So if you just had a site asset that was just one topic, like one niche, and not a bunch of other stuff, then you could just do it right there, just link right from the homepage. There's no reason not to do that, you know. And you wouldn't really need to do that in the taxonomy in that case. But, anyways, yeah, there is a point though. Like, you do need that intermediary keyword silo page to be able to list all those metro state pages. Because if you had a bunch of different services like some of these other companies do, then obviously you need to have an intermediary service page that lists out those silos and then also describes those services in detail. So that would actually be my recommendation, is root keyword metro state. And then on those pages you have your content and your cities and your neighborhoods. Maybe you can copy those from someplace, and your zip codes. That would be, I think that would be the most efficient structure of lead gen page content. And you just do it, fit it to, you can do that with any niche though, fit it to any of these, products. It's obviously work. Someone's going to have to sit down and create the content and the page structures, right? Now, if you were super just like, I don't want to do all that mess, you could do a single page. If you wanted a one-page site, you could do a single page where you said, okay, I'm going to do content. I'm going to do, keyword and location, or keyword metro. Per H tag. So in this example, you would target the keyword. If you wanted to do a one-page site and just keep it as simple as possible, rank that one page for everything, which would be quite a task, right? Then, but also super efficient on your link building budget. Then you would have like H1 would be plumbing services, and then underneath plumbing services, you'd have all those services articulated. Or you might have your H1 as plumbing, air conditioning, plumbing and HVAC and electrical services in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, right? That'd be your H1, and have a summary, and then maybe a list of various categories, and you can maybe click to scroll to those sections. And then the H2 would be plumbing services in Dallas, Fort Worth, and plumbing services and plumbing installation, repair, and services, Dallas, Fort Worth. And then you'd have all those keywords, those services, sub-services listed underneath that section of the page, right? And you just keep making H2s or H3s for all the other categorizations you'd want to do on that page. Pardon me. And then you could just put all the cities in that locality at the bottom of the site, kind of like my one page asset here for Ivan SEO. So a whole lot of ways to configure it, but I think you can clearly see, like, obviously you want to understand how to do SEO for plumbing and HVAC. You just look at some high-end competitors and look at their taxonomy, the way they internally link and set up their locations. Figure out a way to simplify it as much as possible. You want those keywords and locations in your H tags and your titles and all that good stuff. And the internal linking matters. Like, you want it to end on your most optimized pages, And pardon me. So those would be my recommendations, my very long, lengthy, winded local SEO lead gen structure recommendations. Apologies for taking so long, but hopefully you guys got value from all this. I'll do a follow-up case. I'll start doing case studies on uh, collecting URLs and to because I'd like to see more competition insights at scale, and I kind of like to get an idea of some of the things maybe at scale that are employed uh, f- from competitors. So, anyways, take a look out for that in the future. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you sooner or later. Bye bye.